Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Pratiwi Tinarichmita. I'm from PBI 3. Today I want to presentation about family vows. Okay, the first material is about definition of family vow. Family vow system, attitude, and belief that are consciously or not to your unit member family in a single culture. A family vow also is a guideline for the development of norm and regulation contained in family. Okay, next, let's see the comparison between Indonesian and American family vows. Okay, the next material is about a raising child. In America, in the United States, it is not uncommon for parents to put a newborn in a spirit room that belong only to the child. Many children are taught a very early age to make decisions and be responsible for their action. Teenagers from 13 to 18 years may babysit at neighbor homes in order to earn a few dollars a week. If in Indonesian, parents place baby not far from their bed, although some parents place baby in other bed, but this bed still on same room with their parents. Okay, the next material is about young adulthood. If in American, young adulthood, upon reaching an appropriate age, usually between 18 and 21 years, children are encouraged but not forced to leave the nest and begin an independent life. So different in Indonesian, young adulthood don't go out from home. It is so different from Indonesian and American about adulthood. If in American, their parents encourage their children to live independent without having to ask for help from other people, even their parents. If Indonesian, it is very different from American. The parents there don't allow their children to live freely or freedom, and they educate their children with high discipline. But when the children is an adult, the parents in Indonesian will allow their children to live independently. Okay, the next material is about the elder. If in American, society and family treatment of the elderly also reflect this independence and individualism. Older people may seek their own friend rather than become too emotionally dependent on their children. Some families send their older relatives to nursing home rather than integrate them into the homes of the children or grandchildren. If in Indonesian, the older live with their family in the big cities of Indonesian like Jakarta. Their families send older to elderly house. So that's mean from the elder. That is, if in American it is elder. They will live alone without their children because they don't want to burden their grandchildren or stay in a nursing home. If in Indonesian, the elder ones will stay with their children. Okay, the next material is about nuclear and the extended family. In the United States, the nuclear family, which consists of the father, the mother, and the children, is considered the family. The extended family, common in other cultures, include grandparents, aunts, uncle, cousin, nephews, nieces, and in-laws. The American nuclear family usually has its own separate resident and is economically independent of other family members. And the last material is about family roles. Traditional, the male has been responsible for financial support of the home and family members. The female has often been responsible for emotional support, child raising, and housekeeping. However, among some people in part of the United States, these parental functions are no longer fixed. the prescribed role of the man as breadwinner and the woman as housewife is changing. Okay, I think that's enough for material about family fall. After this, I will show you a video about family fall, which is the video has the closing of this material. And my permission to say goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
From the moment we're born, we begin to develop our identities. Who are we? What should we care about? And how should we relate to all these people around us? As it turns out, the way each of us answers these questions largely depends on the culture we grow up in. One major difference between cultures in the East and the West is how they view the individual in relation to the group. Some cultures tend to place more importance on the individual. They're known as individualistic or me societies. Many Western societies, including those in the United States, Australia, and large swaths of Europe, are considered me cultures. People in a me culture believe each individual is responsible for their own well-being. Their circle of responsibility extends only to their immediate family members, parents, spouses, or children. They view their responsibility to others in society, like their neighbors or classmates, as limited. After all, they're also individuals who should be taking care of themselves. On the other hand, some cultures place more importance on the group. They're called collectivist societies, or we cultures. Many Eastern cultures, including those in China, India, and Japan, are considered we cultures. People in a we culture prioritize strong social ties and belonging to a larger group. These groups might include classmates, neighbors, and extended families. They strive for group harmony and believe the individual should make the best decisions for the overall well-being of their group. If you take care of the group, they'll take care of you. So how does this me versus we difference shape our behavior? As it turns out, this seemingly subtle distinction has some surprising effects. Imagine two families each go out to dinner. The family from a me culture might consist of just 4 people, 2 parents and their 2 children. The family from a we culture would need a much larger table to make room for 2 children, their cousins, and multiple sets of parents and grandparents. At the me table, everyone would order the specific meal they wanted. When the food comes, they may trade a bite or 2, but for the most part, each person would eat their own meal. At the we table, on the other hand, multiple dishes would be ordered for the whole table. They would be placed in the center, and all members of the family would share them. Now, let's say a family member was running late. How is each table likely to respond? At the me table, people are expected to be masters of their own fate. So when teenage brother Lee arrives late, the family is more likely to attribute his tardiness to some fundamental aspect of Lee's personality, like assuming he is lazy or irresponsible. At the we table, on the other hand, they're more likely to see Lee's behavior as part of a larger context. Rather than blaming him for being lazy, they may assume external factors were involved. Maybe there was an accident on the road, and Lee got caught in bad traffic. This tendency to either credit the individual or the larger context applies to positive things too. Say Lee was coming from a basketball game where he scored a game-winning shot. At the me table, Lee would be celebrated as the hero. His individual action won the game for the whole team. In a celebratory toast, Lee would likely speak about how his hard work, determination, and focus led him to this moment. Meanwhile, at the we table, the team's overall victory would be celebrated. Lee's toast would more likely focus on how his teammates, coaches, and mentors led to the team's success. He may even mention a larger context, like the support of the team's school administration or fan base. Both of these viewpoints are true. Lee's actions secured the victory, but the team's effort won the game. There is no objective, right or wrong way to think about individuals versus groups. What works for one culture just may not work for another. It's also important to remember that culture is only one of the many factors that influence who we are. So some people from a we culture may prioritize the individual, and some me culture people may value their communities over themselves. Culture is never all that we are, but as one of those invisible forces that shape us, it's well worth knowing a little more about. So the next time the behavior of someone from another culture seems weird or even rude, try asking yourself, how did they grow up to understand the world? Could my behavior seem as weird from their viewpoint? Cultural differences don't hold all the answers, but they can help us begin to understand each other and appreciate the richness and variety of human societies.